All right, Stephen. Are you showing up as your authentic self for today's podcast?
I like to say that I am, but are we ever really fully ourselves at all times in all situations? I don't know. I'm going to bring you the best that I've got right now. How about
That is the absolute question. That's
Mhm.
what the genesis of this podcast was. You're looking pretty dapper today.
Thank you,
Must be a
sir.
good day.
Yeah, got the button up. Had some business networking going on in the morning, and you got to look fresh. You know what Deion said. You know what he said. You look good, you play good, you play good, they pay good.
Pay
You
good.
look good, look good. You feel good, feel
No,
good.
you
play
nailed
good.
it.
Yeah,
I have an
yeah,
addition
yeah.
to it that's not podcast appropriate. We'll leave it there. No, you do look great, and it's perfect. It's a perfect example of B&I is one environment, and as much as we like to say, and we get the advice all the time, I think parents give it to their children a lot. Just be yourself. Just be yourself. And this is gonna get a little philosophical, but there's also just some ways to dissect how you're showing up to see if that's the best advice at all. So the concept for today is really the authentic self, the masks that we wear, this concept of being performative, which I've heard been thrown around a lot, and we're kind of being performative right now. We're literally performing a podcast. But how do these things craft our actual presence and where we're showing up in everyday life? And what's the best approach to take to it? So that's our opener. That's where we're going today.
I like this topic. It's so it's so tough. It's so challenging, especially when you're in business and you're around people a lot. You obviously want to make a good impression. You want to put your best foot forward, and sometimes you are wearing that mask. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think I think if you were truly your authentic self at times, or your full authentic self, you probably might rub people the wrong way. So you kind of have to have a little bit of this performance to develop the relationship and stuff. But I think I think what you're talking about is like getting to a deeper meaning of life and deeper relationships. And like, you can't really fake it. Like you've got to open up, and you got to be vulnerable. You got to learn from each other. And so I think we're going to go back and forth. At least that's my idea when you brought this topic up of like where there's value in it and where there's not. And don't just throw the word around and saying, this is the way I am. Take me for who I am. Like, I think that might be a cop out.
I think it's perfect. And from a starting point I think it's funny because authenticity was, looking back at my notebooks, it used to be a big part of like my values and what I was aiming toward. And then it just gets thrown around so often, especially in media like this. Being authentic, we really are programmed to try to disqualify those that are inauthentic. And so there's importance there. But from the starting point on what I like to refer to as the masks we wear, there was a paper study done by Irving Goffman called the Presentation of Self in Everyday Life. And Irving was a sociologist that argued that we are all performing every day. And his term for it was dramaturgy. Definitely never used it. Don't plan on using it. But this concept that life's a stage and we're constantly managing the impressions based on our audience. Like, you're not going to talk to your grandmother with the same presence, tone, or even language that you would in a board presentations or with your buddies watching the NFL game.
Right.
And so that kind of gives you just a starting point of just calling out who you are and who you're around does shape how your behavior is going to be. And is that authentic? Does it make it inauthentic? Or does that just mean you have some emotional intelligence?
I think it's emotional intelligence. I mean, I think I was listening to a podcast. I think it was My First Million podcast. Is the guy that wrote The Power of Habit. Before James Clear had his Atomic Habits. I can't remember the author's name now, but he was on, and Sam was actually talking about being authentic and, how that word gets thrown around. And the author was saying, well, I think you are being authentic. You're only showing the parts of you that need to be shown. And so when you're in that board meeting, you're showing the part that needs to be shown of professional, concise, detailed, proper, the part of you that needs to be shown to your grandmother, empathetic, caring, nice. And then the parts that you're shown with your bros watching football is loose, vulgar, comedy, humor, whatever. Like those are all parts of you And you don't have to show all of them all at the same time in every situation. So I think you nailed it. You're still being authentic by choosing which piece of you needs to be shown at that time. Now, is that performance? Is that a mask? I think that's probably too strong. I don't think so. I think you're at that time, it's what's needed. It's what the audience is needed from you, but it also means you're trying to adapt and be well liked and be included in the community or the group that you're in, and you know what they like. So now you have this chameleonic type of tendencies to adapt to any situation.
And I think that's where we run into the problem.
Yeah.
Are you adapting to be liked, for gratification, for to be accepted and get that validation is the word I was looking for? Or are you performing for the greater good of your massive transformative purpose, your mission, and your values? Are you having to perform to those values because they don't come authentic right now? And that's good. We're going to round it out to that point. But where I'm really at this right now is that the problem is, and one other example of this that I think was really popular was Mark Manson's book that just blew up, one of the biggest books of our time, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Beep. That book, if you read it closely, as opposed to taking the subtitles or just the cover in the back of, don't give a rat's, just show up, do you, shoot from the hip. That's really not it. It's don't care about the validation that comes from it. And so my argument, where I'm kind of at right now, reserve the right to change my mind, but that the performance isn't the lie. Pretending that there is no performance is the lie. If you want to say that you're just you and you're just that cool and that authentic that you can just show you, I envy you, first of all, if that's it. But that in itself is likely a performance that you've adopted as well.
That is the mask. I mean, that is a mask of saying, oh, well, you get into an argument with somebody and they don't like the way you're acting, and you just resort to, well, take me for who I am. It's just how it is, and like there's no growth there. There's no, some people who are the loudest about not caring too much or not and just saying, I have no ego. I'm just, kind of not flighty, but just, it is what it is. And it's like, behind closed doors, you most likely are probably not really like you've got feelings, you've got thoughts, you've got things that are going on. So is that authentic? Probably not. But again, are you showing that side of carefree to fit in? I don't know. I think as we get older, like as we, you and I and others in our circles, as we get older, we start really thinking about the rest of our lives and like what success means for us. Like, I think we're unapologetic. I think we're okay saying no to things and don't have to give a reason why we're saying no. Whereas I think in your 20s, you probably were just saying yes and doing things that you really didn't want to do. So you're kind of putting on a performance, putting on a mask just to follow the crowd. So I think we're more authentic now than when we were. But I also think when you're young, you kind of have to do that to figure out who you are. Like, I still struggle with knowing who exactly I am and what exactly I want to do. You hear the people say, when I grow up, I'm going to do this. Like, I ask myself that all the time. Like, I don't know necessarily. And this is being real. And that's part of like a mass that people say is like, this is me being real. It's like, well, is it? I don't know, as you ask those questions, but I think you're bringing up a good debate and a good thought process. It can get pretty deep. And I've gone through this myself of trying to figure out who I am, the legacy I want to leave behind. And is it okay to just act because that's how I feel, as opposed to act because that's how someone else is going to feel, and drawing that line.
You bring up a good point. And as I was putting these together, I wanted to reference back to 2 episodes we did. One most recently with Steph, and I want to talk about conditioning and unlearning, because there's an argument that your authentic self was conditioned or inherited from your traits, nature, and nurture of what makes up yourself as a human being. So that conditioning, as well as a previous podcast we did on alter egos. That whole tool that whole tool that we created is literally a performance, whether it's internal or not. You are putting a mask on for the sake of achieving your outcomes and being who you think you should be in that moment. And you just hit a great point. I'm throwing a lot at you right now, but that whole who are we becoming? This is all changing in real time. That's why it's
Yeah.
about who's the person I'm becoming, not this absolute ideal person that I set maybe 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 6 months ago. That person may have totally changed. So that's where the performance changes as we're showing up as our authentic self.
That's 100% correct. That's where you can get, like, if you're in these ruts and you're like, I'm not who I say I am, or I'm not who I think I am. But if you wrap your head around who am I becoming? What are the actions that I'm taking? And if I do visualize myself 5 years from now, answering the questions today as if I'm that person will help you in that growth path of making decisions of who I'm becoming and who I'm building, who I'm creating, not who I am.
Always the hard part, right? The actual
Oh,
doing. We can
yeah.
sit here and talk about it all you want, but it's those actions that prove to yourself what that authentic identity is. And back to the unlearning part, that takes me to essentialism. I think a lot of the times, again, the stuff that we collect over a lifetime, over inheriting them uh, genetically, it's the unlearning of that doesn't serve us, right? We've talked about that on the podcast before, the letting go. And another thing that I've been focused on a lot lately is radical self forgiveness of the past. Can't change it. I know we talked about a podcast concept here recently. It's like, what good does it do? And my feedback was, I'd love to have that conversation, but what good does it do to say what we would do 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Or we have to learn from it, which you do a good job of bringing up about making sure we're mapping to the delta between who we were and what actually changed between there and now, as well as forward thinking to who we're trying to become and navigating that delta. But I think that this idea of putting those masks on and building an authentic identity or who we're showing up as, that's really kind of the act. It's a really reflective process.
There was a quote on my dad's whiteboard when growing up that said, if only I knew yesterday what I know today, it would be a wonderful life. And basically the idea was, what are things that we wish we knew today or knew at 30 that we know today? And that would have been a fun conversation. Maybe we'll still have it, but that doesn't change the past. It's not like we can do it at 30. We lost those 10 years, but the next best day to do it is today. And so whatever that was back then, what I know today, I wish I would have done 10 years ago, shouldn't stop you from taking the action today. You know what I mean? Like it's not too late. And that was the purpose of that reflective piece. And I do that. And it's really more so, I do that a lot more so for gratitude and grace, because there's so many times where I feel like, oh, I'm not there. But what does there mean? Like what, just some random idea that I thought that I had, and I know it's possible, but does it have to be today? Like, and all these things. So, that's kind of that reflection piece that's big, but you have these masks of like, why do I need this right now? Like, do I truly actually want these things, or do I truly want the perception of these things? Like, what does that actually do for me? And you really dive deep into those masks and those authenticities and all these things. And are you shaping that because of everything else that you see, whether it's in your circles or you see it on social media, or even close family members or friends that think you should be this thing or in this place, and you're trying to unlearn these different situations and way you've been brought up or whatever, and you're like, wait a second, hang on, like, can't I just choose who I want to be in these certain situations, and it's okay that I'm not here, and as long as I am this and as long as I'm that, and like, yeah, I'm okay with that. And you kind of find, am I content or am I growing? Or like, so you go through all these things, and I'm currently going through a lot of these things too. Like, when does it become the next thing? Or when does it mean just stay the course? Or when does it mean, so I don't know. I think it's really hard to figure out which, especially like you said, for this podcast, like there are times where we'll have episodes where we're like putting on a front just to try and get a good conversation out. But most of the time it's you and me. We've been friends for 20 years, having conversation and learning from each other. So this to me is a legacy piece. It's an authentic piece. We're not wearing masks other than, having something out on the internet. And so I think the more times you can put yourself in these types of situations where you have the opportunity to mess up and you have the opportunity to just be human. And I think that's really what helps in the overall growth.
I couldn't agree more. And spending time right now doing a lot of dopamine audits on And just like back to Oglesby's presentation about time and energy being our ultimate limits, right? It's kind of like screw money, like that's fine or whatever. Time and energy is everything.
Yeah.
And going through these audits, he's kind of an addiction and ADHD specialist who's had a big impact on me. His name's Dr. Gabor Mate. And in his book, The Myth of Normal, which is so perfect for this and a part of the reason for the debate, he talks about adaptation versus authenticity and how this is back to validation and comparing ourselves to others. That's a moving target as well, that we're constantly building a mean on who we should be, changing with trends, changing with what's hot at the moment or what your close peers are doing, what your role models are doing, your mentors are telling you. And that it's more about that incremental shift on your personality to do that unlearning, to rewrite that code that is showing up as your personality. And I think the messy middle is when you're experimenting, when your truth without knowing like what's coming out of you, the innate knowledge of who you want to be and what behaviors map to that. That's where the messy middle can be. And I think that's where it gets scary, and it's easier to adapt to what does the societal conditioning and those that I respect say I should do. And that also, I'll argue that's the lazy way.
Yeah.
And this is the discomfort of why it's hard to show up as your authentic self.
Do you, question for you, are you a truth seeker? Like, do you look for truth in most situations?
I'd love that you asked this. Yeah, yes. And there's a quote that's coming to my head I think we're easy and hard to lie to ourselves. And as much as I want the truth, I want to make sure that I am expressing the truth. Like man, that's a great question that ties to authenticity. Yes, I'm a truth seeker, and I think I can be really good at shifting the truth to suit my desired outcomes.
Oh, that's interesting. So, it's like, yeah, it's like commonality, right? Like if a debate with somebody, the whole debate's not really right or wrong. It's just whoever agrees to, like, once you agree to a common result and you're happy with that, you're both happy with it. But each person will have their own perception of truth. I saw, like, think about the 80-year-old married couple. The wife is going to say, describe your marriage, or what was the best part of your marriage, will have a completely different answer than the husband, right? Like everyone has their own takes on it. And both of them can be true, but both of them could also think that the other person's isn't true, but it's your truth. So like,
this is back to, these are a projections.
And it may not even be like if we're having a conversation about a situation that happened, the way you perceived it and interacted with that situation is very different than how I did. And we may not have the same truth. And so like, am I seeking your truth or am I seeking mine? Like, it's such a hard question. Now, when it comes to like facts and actual factual situations, yes, I think that's powerful to have facts for knowing how to proceed forward. But I don't think I am. I don't think I need the truth. Sometimes I catch myself, and I don't know if it's good or bad, but like I don't get deep into things. Like I don't think about them deeply to care a ton, to care so much that it's going to affect the direction that I want to go. If that makes any sense. Like I feel like I don't know if I need the truth in all situations, so I don't seek it. I don't spend the energy on it. So that was the question, is like, not that you're spending energy on it, but is that something that's important to you, to like, if you're having conversation, that it seems truthful to you, or is it more for entertainment? I'd almost look at it as like entertainment in a way, sometimes having a conversation.
I am so fascinated by human consciousness and this existence in a whole. I can't help myself from going down. I want to know so bad. Like universal consciousness would be amazing. I don't have the capacity. It's unachievable, first of all. But I think that's all that matters, is the truth. And I think that's the whole point, is all of these obstacles and problems that we have, the unknowing that we hate, the mystery of what our decisions are going to lead to, is the whole point of this game. It's, you get set in a certain area level in this video game, back to our simulation theory, and you're going to get all these problems. And as soon as you solve some, they seem to get either more complex or larger, or they come at you more frequently.
Yeah.
and it's like a video game. And I used to think that, oh, if I get the fundamentals right, if I'm the right individual, the other levels will become easier. And it's the opposite. You just become more able to address them, which is
I think you
still,
do a really good job too of like when you take that information, that truth, like that, it's saturated in you. Like you keep it and you hold it. Like you can articulate it. You can regurgitate it later. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm ADD or what, but like I get this stuff, and then like
it's my ADHD that makes me do it.
Yeah, and I'm like squirrel, like, and I forget about it next week, and I'm like, so that's why I don't spend time on it, because I feel like it's not going to be important to me a week from now. But I don't know, maybe that's not a great thing. It probably isn't. I think I have some really good relationships and really good friendships, but I also feel like as I get older, I'm not seeking more of those, like deeper level relationships and friendships. I think my circle's pretty tight knit, like, and that's kind of where I like it. Like I've got a lot of acquaintances and casual relationships and all that stuff, like people I know that, I support and they support me, and, from afar, but from like a deeper level, I don't really seek truth from anybody that's a casual relationship. So from a perspective of like holistically, like I probably should, but I just never have. I don't know how to unlearn that, if you will. Like, is that something I need to be better at? And that's a question.
Well, from what you just mentioned, maybe it's not important to you.
It's not. No, I know it's not. But I'm asking, like, is that something that I probably should be more cognizant of? And I don't know. It's an energy thing for me. I feel like there's just so much that I'm drained with so many other things that, I don't know. I guess it's hard to explain exactly, but I think it's great that you have this, because it spews out like the knowledge that you have and the expertise that you have and the depth that you have. I was just telling this to Steph, who we just had on the pod, that I was like, he's got all the depth. Like I'll bring some color, but the depth is like really solid. Like you're able to retain good information. And because of how you answer, do you seek truth? And that's why.
I think just spewing it out sums it up more more accurately.
No, I'm being real. Like I'm being very serious.
Well, I appreciate it. And I would just say it's just amazing timing, because a friend close in our circle who won't be named said a very similar thing as we were in a group discussion that I got passionate about, and multiple people were. There's 4 of us sitting around. And he said a similar thing. He's like, I'm not going there on XYZ. I don't have the cognitive bandwidth. I am here for my family and my close-knit humans. And I'm not worried about anything outside of that. And that, I think, takes even more discipline and boldness to share that you're that way, not pretending or performing to say that there's something else there. So we're all here to serve a different portion of the wheel, like to fill different places, and it doesn't work if everyone's the same.
Yeah.
So I love it. The other thing, and I'm developing an exercise for our group for our next meeting, I believe. And it's another piece that ties wholly into this, is Carl Jung and the shadow self. And I think a big portion of this, where Jung believes that this shadow, which is the part that we love to stuff down, we like to hide it from the world. We like to, because we think it's bad and it won't be perceived well. It is actually the key to you expressing yourself fully in the world, is leaning into it. But you have to have a relationship with it. You have to lean into it. It's called the dark side, the shadow self. It's a mind bender, because you're like, no, these things are bad, but this is back to, are they bad? Or how do you harnessing them for your control? Example being set. Say you are an extremely judgmental person and you're constantly evaluating others. Not necessarily, maybe it's externally or maybe it's internally. You probably have an extreme awareness on how people should be treated, and a great catalog of examples of right versus wrong. How can you lean into that, embrace it, and say, okay, I have this judgmental characteristics. Why do I have it? What conditioned me to get here? And instead of saying, I'm not going to be judgmental and beat yourself up because you lean into that and say, I'm going to use my this judgmental part of me, make peace with it, and form it into how I can display this better judgment without bringing others down, creating conflict, and pulling away. That's the first example that came to my mind. Others are maybe being performative and putting on a show for everyone is part of your dark side. You know, like I'm not showing, I'm faking it. I'm avoiding emotions to make people laugh. You have to lean into these areas of your dark side to expose your whole self. And that relationship is what's key to all. More to come there. That's worth a whole episode in itself.
Yeah.
But incorporating the shadow, in Jung's opinion, and I believe so much of it is spot on, accepting all of those areas of our life is how we can show up authentically and perform our best.
I think asking yourself, and you're wondering, how do I be my authentic self, or how do I, wear the mask that I want to wear in these different situations? I think at the end of the day, as long as you're being who you say you are and doing what you say you're going to do, you'll be a trustworthy person, you'll be a credible person. But asking yourself those questions, not what is the perception I want to give off today? It's who do I want people to know me as today, I think is the right way. I think you're always going to have masks. You're always going to have a performative type of measure. I think because perception is reality. But also remembering that most people don't really care about you that much.
So
I mean,
true.
like they don't care that much. And I think just keep putting in the action, keep putting in work, keep moving forward. And if you're telling yourself like, man, I'm not happy with where I'm at, or I'm not portraying myself to the best that I possibly can be, that's okay. You can have those moments. You can have those ruts. Like, we're all human, and give yourself grace for that. And then just get back to the activities that you enjoy. You truly become stronger emotionally, physically by doing these activities. And I think that's really what we're talking about, is the awareness piece, not only socially, but self-awareness. Like, be aware of what you're capable of and extend that. Be aware of how you act in certain situations and fix that. Be aware of others around you and adapt to that, but not to the point where you lose yourself. Use the skills that you have and the learnings that you have, and unlearn some of those learnings that we just talked about. But putting yourself out there in a social awareness to recognize that others need you just as much as, you need them. And so it's realizing that you're not putting on a face, you're just showing the pieces that they need from you right now.
Yeah, the goal is not to rip off the mask. The goal is to become someone whose face and mask are finally moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And towards something that's bigger than just you. So I ask for the listeners, I just take a look. If you got a notebook down, or if you're driving, think about what's a mask you're wearing that you've been conditioned to wear versus one that you want to put on by design. And what is that mask driving you toward? Back to the massive transformative purpose that's pulling you to who you're becoming, and put on that mask. Show up as that person and perform. And our last ask is, share this with someone who you might think might be stuck in the just be yourself loop, or someone whose masks aren't really aligning with the person that you know they are. Maybe they could use this. Listen, and we'll be back at you next week. I think that's a pod.